Yo, what is up guys? Boris here coming to you guys with a discussion about sockets. Now, this is a question that I get asked a lot. I've gotten so much requests about this because a lot of people have actually recently started an OPTC again, whether they're returning back into the game or they're just starting to play the JP version, which I know a lot of people are. People are asking me about sockets. So let me go ahead and explain to you maybe why I'm thinking about doing this video right now. That is because right now we have the socket book island out. I know Global has yet to receive the socket book island, so for those of you guys who play Global, let me explain a little bit about how it works. Pretty much, you get to run it for 30 minutes every day, and you're gonna get socket book drops. Now you can get normal socket books, you can get specific socket books, you can get those, and you can also get cotton candy, cola. There's two different types of socket book island. There's the Ace socket book island and the Luffy socket book island. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe the Luffy socket book island isn't as good as the Ace socket book island, but again, the Ace socket book island we got during second Annie, and it was a long time ago, so I kind of forgot, but I think that had better drops in my opinion. I might be wrong. Now, why is this important? Well, you get a lot of sockets, and as you can see, like look at the socket books I have right now. A lot of specific socket books and cooldown, chain, silence, auto heal, and then the crappy socket books. Orbs are good, but we have poison. You get a lot of socket books, and so even though you have a lot, they go by fast. Like 10 socket books, that's 2 characters. You know, if you have 10 auto heal, 5 on one, 5 on the other, they're gone. So you want to make sure and use them appropriately, use them on the correct characters, so you don't actually end up wasting them. Now, the first thing you want to do is decide which characters you do want to socket and which ones you don't with socket books. So for instance, let me give you a good example. Recently I've been socketing this character right here. Let me find him real quick. Where is he? I've been socketing the brand new Cavendish rare recruit character. Let me find him. Here we go. Now the reason I'm socketing Cavendish with socket books right now, it's not going the best. He's maxed on auto heal, which is good. But the reason I'm going with my Cavendish is because you cannot farm him on JP. The only way you can farm him is farming the Invasion Cavendish. And trust me, that's not something you want to farm. It's not, especially once you've already maxed your own. So this is a good character to feed socket books to, because really there are no farmable sockets. If you are a free-to-play player, someone who doesn't spend a ton of gems farming Colosseums, someone who doesn't have a way to get consistently good socket books, then you're going to want to be very conservative on who you socket. If you are someone who does Colosseum every day, on 2 times stamina, then you're probably gonna have a lot of socket books, and you can be a little bit more, you can socket some characters that normally you wouldn't socket. So for instance, the best example would be anytime I get a new legend, I socket them with socket books, right? I could wait, like for instance when I got Rob Lucci, I could wait and socket him with Fortnite Lucci, but that's a lot of gems I'm gonna end up farming with, so I figured I'd go ahead and feed him with socket books. And again, this is all stuff most of you guys already know. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my opinion what the best sockets are and which ones you should pick, because again, everyone has been asking me which sockets do I put on this, which sockets do I put on that. So let me find. Okay, he's a new Rob Lucci, right? I pulled him a little while ago, Lucci V2. These are sockets I went with on him, and I'm going to go one by one, explain to you what they do and why I think they're good. So in my opinion, these are the 5 main sockets. These are the 5 that you should prioritize when you first pick what sockets you want to put on a character. And let me see, we got a Pedro sending a loot. Thank you very much, man. So here we go. Let me go ahead and start with, in my opinion, this is the socket order I like. I know everyone has a different socket order. That's a whole different video, guys. Socket order is something that triggers some people. So if this isn't the socket order you guys like, I'm sorry, but this is a socket order that I personally have gone with since I started doing sockets. So first up, guys, we got the chain socket. Now, this in my opinion is the #1 socket you should put on your characters. It's the most important, because if your characters get chained, you cannot use their specials. You can't attack with them. You pretty much lose access to them. And if it's your captain, you also lose your captain effect. So there are going to be certain cases where your characters get chained for 3 turns and you will lose. And if you had the sockets, you could get rid of those, and now you are able to pass through the dungeon. This is definitely pretty much universally known as the best socket, along with the despair sockets. You should definitely always try to put this on a character if you can. And again, it's really important because if your character gets locked, then boom, can't use it, can't even use it special. Now if I compare it to the despair socket, again, this is the other, those are the two #1 sockets you should always have on every character, despair and silence. You could argue that in some cases you don't want to put despair sockets on some characters, like for instance, the Raid Blackbeard when he first came out. You didn't want to put despair on him because you actually wanted him to get despaired, so you can actually use his special, and then you would deal all that damage you lost when your HP gets reduced. You could deal back in I think ×2 or ×4, I don't remember. But for like 99% of cases, you're gonna want to put despair sockets on. Again, the reason is because in some cases you're gonna get despaired or chained, and you're gonna want to have the max level, which is level 3, on your characters. Now, in chain, like I said, you pretty much lose access to the character and you lose access to their special. In this case, you don't lose access to your special, but you do lose access to their captain effect, and their captain effect also is negated, which is a different it's a different thing, because now if you have given HP buff, so the characters that give a 1.5 HP buff, now you get reduced to 0. So you get a 0, you don't get a multiplier anymore. So you lose all that HP. So if you were at 60k HP, now you might go back down to 20 if both your captains get silenced. So this is really important, especially in those cases where they silence you for 3 or less turns. This prevents it. This prevents them from losing HP. It's really important that you have these this socket and the chain socket. Those are the 1 and 2 most needed sockets that you need to have. So I mean, this is most stuff most people already know. But again, there's a lot of new players out there. I think it's important for them to always pick these two. If you guys ask me on Twitter, what sockets should you put, I'm always going to say those two, no matter what, and then go from there. Now, in my opinion, the third best socket nowadays, this is something that no one, when these sockets first came out, even thought was good. The reason being is auto heal sockets, the level 5 is 24, which is really tough to get. It's really tough to get. So early on, everyone thought this socket was trash. No one ever put auto heal on their characters. And also back then, Whitebeard was very good, so no one wanted to put auto heal on their Whitebeard teams. But nowadays, this is pretty much guaranteed to be the third best socket on almost every single team. The reason being is that you can get 24 sockets a lot easier now. Nowadays, you know, sockets have been around for a long time. There's a lot more, far more versions of characters. So getting that 24 requirement is pretty easy. With a friend captain with 5 auto heal, you just need to have 19 sockets yourself for auto heal, and then you'll be perfectly fine. We got another loot. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I pretty much all my teams almost always have level 4 at least, and level 5 is pretty easy to hit as well. You're healing 1,000 a turn, which is a big deal. Trust me, there's been so many times where level 4 or level 5 have made the difference. There's times where I've died with level 4, but if I had level 5, I would have easily survived because it's an extra 500 a turn. Let's say you go through 10 turns of the dungeon, that adds up to a lot. And the most important thing is if you're trying to clear 0 stamina islands, you're going to need level 5 auto heal in a lot of cases. Like, that's a big deal, because you know 0 stamina islands, those last for over 100 turns sometimes. So you're looking at a lot of recovery. And again, it makes it less reliant on meat orbs, so you don't really have to rely on getting any meat orbs like you used to. Now you can just rely on having auto heal, and RNG is taken out of the equation. A really awesome socket. Definitely, that's the third. So my 3 that you should always put, most characters have 3, is chain, silence, and auto heal. From there, it's up to you. There's 3 others you can consider. There is cooldown. In my opinion, is the 4th. Cooldown is the 4th for me. That's the 4th best. If a character has 4 sockets, I tend to put those 4 on it. Cooldown is just for late game players like me who want to speed run as fast as possible. Spend less time. This socket is actually really important. In a lot of cases, it does make the difference between being able to zombie an event, like just doing it just without having to worry about stalling or having to stall. And in that case, it does wear you down a little bit if you have to really farm something. So cooldown just makes life a lot easier. If you're a new player, it's not that big of a deal, but if you've been playing for a while, definitely put that cooldown on there. It's going to make a big difference. Less stalling is just better. You take less damage. We have Orbs, which is really good. Pretty much my 5th slot is between Orbs and damage reduction. In this case, because of powerhouse teams, I run him a lot with Red Lucci, Friend Captain. I figured I'd go ahead and put Orbs on him because Red Lucci does depend on having matching Orbs. Blue Lucci himself does give Orbs, so again, this is something where you're going to have to wait and see. If you have units that can give you matching Orbs on the boss rooms, on the burst turns, you might want to go with damage reduction, but if it's someone who sort of needs Orbs to get to the boss, then I like to put matching Orbs. Getting 20 again is not that hard to get. And the final socket, which I guess isn't here, where can I show you? Let me show you someone with that socket. Okay, Marco, for instance. So Marco, in this case, Marco, they don't really need matching Orbs on the teams that I use Marco with. So I'll go ahead and put damage reduction. It's just going to be nice. Marco already has damage reduction. You know, put an extra 10% on there. It's nice. Again, this is a socket that most people thought was trash for a long time, but as more and more, you know, your teams have been filled out with all the sockets you need, then people, okay, well, let me add in a little bit extra damage reduction. And 10% makes a big difference, especially, like I said, in a 0 stamina where you're taking, you know, thousands and thousands of damage. 10% of that does add up over time, and it can definitely save you. So, you know, just keep that in mind. And the final thing I want to say with sockets, guys, is always look at your team composition. Let's say you want to make a, give you a good example. Let me say I want to make like a slasher team, right? Make your slasher team, make it out, and see what sockets you need. So you want to open up this tab and see, well, look, I have level 3 chain, level 3 silence. I could use 5 more cooldown sockets on this team, so that with a friend cooldown, I could have level 2. Definitely use a little bit more orb sockets. Definitely want to get that you want to get the auto kill up to level 4 at least, and yeah. So that's what the sockets that I would work on. Now, of course, this is kind of tough sometimes when you have Mihawk with only 1 socket, but that's why a lot of characters recently have been coming out with a lot more sockets. That's why it's important from the Kai raid bosses. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you have any more questions about sockets, let me know down below. This is pretty much everything you really need to know about them. It's been a long time since I've talked about them, and hopefully this helped. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Till then, peace.